This is Joe's Corner 76. I will be talking on the human condition. In order to change it, we have to be engaged. Why did the Conservatives lose 3 times? Looking at the last 2 elections, the Conservatives won the popular vote, but not enough seats to either form a minority or majority government. The first thing that was crucial to them, having a breakthrough and winning seats in Ontario, particularly the 416 and 905 areas with Quebec. Do they need to stop doing what they're doing? The answer is yes. No party unity. Whenever the news portrays the Conservatives, they constantly outline that the party is not united. Let's look at recent history. In 2015, Harper was the leader. He had been in power for 10 years, and as always, people felt they needed to change. It's not that they questioned Harper's competence, or was there any question raised about the unity of the Conservative Party. Mr. Sunnyways came along, and with his name and the promises he made, he was elected Liberal leader. Some say it was because of his name and the fact that the Liberals had no one in the wings. We are all aware of the budget lies, the scandals, the harm carbon taxes would cause, his almost maniacal stance on climate change, lack of promises kept to the Indigenous people, and his bungles on COVID-19, his emasculating of the military, and his stance on immigration, which the majority of Canadians had some reservations about, stand on energy and energy security. He has intentions to control the media. He promotes the woke agenda, and he is our number one apologizer for everything except for the harm he has caused and continues to cause on the average Canadian through his economic policies. Many thought that he was on the verge of defeat in 2019 and 2021, but each time he won a minority government. Thank you, Quebec and Ontario. Now he has consolidated his power through the NDP alliance until possibly 2025. The Conservatives elected Andrew Scheer to lead the 2019 election. They won the popular vote, but not the war. He could not relate to the majority of Canadians who viewed him as indecisive. He could not put to bed the attacks on his views on social issues like abortion and LGBTQT issues. The party wanted a new leader, and they got Aaron O'Toole. He looked like a good candidate. He had served in the military in a leadership role, and he had some experience as defense minister. He had a clean record, and he was elected on his leadership platform that included a pledge to remove the carbon tax. He changed his platform going into the 2021 election. He seemed to try and become a quasi-liberal. He did dodge the traditional issues like abortion and climate change raised by the Liberals, but with his stand on gun control, carbon, his indecisive answers, poor outreach to ethnic communities, and the all-important Quebec and Ontario base, he lost the election. Again, the Conservatives won the popular vote. It appears that the next election might not come until 2025. What do the Conservatives need to do to win? They can't elect a leader who can't control the party. All sides have to be on the same page when the party goes into an election. The last few elections did not show a united party with a leader who was in charge. There has to be absolute clarity on abortion and any LGBTQ issues. The party has to clearly state they support the law of the land and show that they have an agenda to carry Canada forward to a sound economic and unified basis. First, the party has to reach out to the ethnic communities across Canada and show them that the Conservative values are their values. They have to break the hold the Liberals have here. The party has to appeal to women who are 50% of the electorate. They have to be encouraged to run. Policies needed to be developed that meet their needs. And most importantly, the party needs to communicate the need for their inclusion in the political process. The voters in Ontario, Quebec, Atlantic Canada are the key to a majority government. The Conservatives have to have policies that resonate with these voters. The political climate is changing. Pocketbook issues are going to be very much on people's minds. The Conservatives need to have a policy on climate change. It's not going away. Energy, its availability, price, and how it is used in reducing carbon print is going to be important. National unity has to be a concern, since this will make or break Canada's strength as a nation. There needs to be policies that benefit all the regions, not just some. The Conservatives need to state they do not support rewriting our history, but rather show the good and the bad, not just the politically correct positions. Conservatives need a consistent message that can be communicated consistently. The carbon tax is having a definite effect on our economy. If it is repealed, there has to be a plan to show what will be done to address climate change. Canadians, as a majority, believe it is real. Energy security has to be a key issue. The war in Ukraine has shown how the West is vulnerable to energy supply. The Conservatives have to come out and clearly acknowledge fossil fuels at this point power our economy, and at this point there are no alternate green energy sources that are reliable. They must state we need to produce our energy for ourselves and for export to our allies in the rest of the world. Natural gas produces 50% of the carbon output that coal does. It is an alternative green energy, and we need to build terminals to ship liquefied natural gas to reduce pollution and pipelines to transport both oil and gas, as well as allowing oil tankers on both coasts. We should not be subject to the whim of dictators for our energy supply. The economic benefit from this would provide the funds to build the electrical grid necessary for a switch to green energy, along with the money to research for batteries to store renewable energy. They need to state quite clearly that nuclear energy is a green alternative and encourage its use. The economic effect would be an enormous asset to fund our health and social programs. They need to state that to control pollution, there have to be realistic, achievable goals, not verbiage while the levels of emissions keep rising. Industry will adopt practices that reduce emissions when it's shown that it makes economic sense and through government incentives. The government hasn't proved it can do it. Economics will play a major role in the next election. The Conservatives need to state how they would tackle inflation, the national debt, and a control on government spending by examining line by line all of government expenses. There is a lot of fat there. They need to show that they are the party of research and development and increase the percentage spent on these. Canada has to be innovative to attract industries here. Resource development is a national security issue in certain areas, like who buys our oil companies, who owns mines that mine lithium, which is key to electrical batteries, and rare earth, which has many uses in technology and military uses. Countries like China should not be allowed to own these and other resources, and we need to buy back any that are foreign owned. An area that has not been explored is what needs to be done to alleviate the damage caused by climate change, like flooding and forest fires, and looking at growing and developing crops that can reduce drought. Our military is sadly underfunded, and it seems to be used by the government as a social agency. Recent events show that a credible military preparedness is necessary. We must be prepared and equipped to fight any security issues and defense of our Arctic region against Russia and China. We need to increase our military spending to 2% of our gross national product to show our allies we will fulfill our obligations, since we realize, particularly today, that we need the security they provide. Clearly show our allies we want to regain their trust. If it is not done, ban Huawei from providing 5G. We need to show that national security is a primary concern, and we want to work in conjunction with our allies on security. We need to repair our image in the world scene by the example we set, not the number of photo ops and banal lectures to world leaders. Immigration needs to be addressed. Canadians have some concern about this, and a discussion needs to be had on the pace of immigration and capacity to absorb immigrants into our national Mosaic. What are your thoughts? Do you care? You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Joe's Corner 76. You can hear me on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Radio Podcast, Stitcher, and YouTube at Joe's Corner 76.